Over the last week or so, we've all been bleary-eyed watching Phelps and Lochte and Franklin compete for the United States. And we have this proud history in the United States of being top in the world when it comes to swimming and being out there winning all the medals. Swimming is supposed to be a fun, exciting thing for not only competitive swimmers in our colleges and in our high schools, but also for our youth. And in the climate we have here in Los Angeles, where we're nearly a desert, so many of our residents have private pools, and sometimes that fun environment of swimming can turn into tragedy so quickly if parents just turn away for a few moments. Here in Santa Clarita, over the course of this summer, we've had a number of near drownings where we've had to airlift kids to our local hospitals. Now, fortunately, most of the time in near drownings, we're able to revive due to excellent firefighters and paramedics, but every once in a while, we do suffer a fatality as a result of these near drownings. For us, it's a simple message. It's for our moms and dads to always be aware that just 2 minutes of texting and not paying attention to your kids, just 2 minutes on a phone or running into the house and using the restroom, almost every near drowning happens within a 5-minute span of not paying attention to your young sons and daughters. So today we have experts here to once again bring to the attention of our local communities that water safety and swim safety is extremely important. I know myself, back when I was young, I was at a neighbor's pool, and I remember just for a split second going in and not being able to swim. And I was so lucky that Karen Nivey, my next door neighbor, jumped in and got me. But I still remember as a kid that horror of going down and not being able to do anything about it and feeling like, man, this is it. And I was probably 5, 6 years old. So to all the Karen Niveys of the world, thank you for watching. I'm here today as your mayor because you watched me. First up, we have our emergency medicine physician at Henry Mayo Hospital, Dr. Darren Privet. He's going to briefly discuss basic life support and the importance of first response to save lives. Dr. Privet.
Thanks, Mayor Frank Ferry. Just to echo what he said, how important this is regarding educating pool safety. As he previously mentioned, we've had quite a bit of drownings and near drownings even this early summer year. So it's very imperative that we talk about pool safety, because I think when you look at medicine, preventative medicine is the best type of medicine that we can practice. Immediate intervention is the most important. Whenever we might have a drowning victim, the most important thing that we can do is ensure that we initiate 911 and that we get help right away. There's been stories where people have been drowning and people have run off to get help, but the most important thing that you can do is to try to administer immediate help to that particular victim. The most important thing that we can do is initiate CPR right away. And traditionally with drowning, there's some type of airway impairment, so the most important thing that we can do is to try to provide rescue breathing, to initiate some type of ability for them to be oxygenated by resuscitative breaths, and to making sure that the airway is clear. Sometimes with drowning victims, we're not sure if they actually have some type of diving injury, so the other thing that you want to do is make sure that we maintain proper C-spine immobilization and ensure that they don't have any type of worsening injury that can have from the drowning incident. So we want to make sure that we begin CPR right away. So that would entail that majority of us understand what CPR is, and I think it's really important that we educate ourselves. For those of us who might not be certified in basic CPR or basic life support, there are plenty of different resources out there that you can enroll in and to update yourself on the current practices for CPR. In fact, the local hospital here provides plenty of classes for the community, including adult CPR as well as infant CPR. And so I would recommend contacting your nearest hospital, your nearest facility, to make sure you're up to date with the current practices for CPR, because you never know when you're going to be involved in a situation where you might have to respond quickly, and you got to make sure you know what you need to do. The other thing is sometimes these drownings can be involved where the child is extremely cold, so you got to be aware of hypothermia and make sure that we initiate rewarming techniques. Traditionally, there's been a lot of terminology and nomenclature regarding drowning, whether it be a dry drowning, a wet drowning, a a cold drowning, a warm drowning, a near drowning. We pretty much wiped away all these different terms, and the most important thing with drowning victims is to determine whether it's warm water or cold water. And if it is cold, we want to make sure that we initiate rewarming techniques as soon as possible. The other thing sometimes as parents, when our kids get injured, sometimes we think they're okay, but when it comes to drowning or water injuries, the most important thing that you can do is to transport that child to the nearest hospital, the nearest facility as soon as possible. The best type of medicine in this case is actually observation, and so the most important thing that we can do is observe these children to make sure that they don't have any developing or delayed presentations when it comes to possible lung injury or complications from that near drowning event. As I previously mentioned, and what the mayor just recommended, and unfortunately there are quite a bit of these near drowning incidences, which is reasonable. It's really hot out here. Kids want to cool off. They play. The nearest thing that they can do is to jump in the pool and play in the pool. I have 3 children myself who also have had near drowning incidences. So it's really important that we maintain pool safety, adult supervision, and to ensure that we protect our children and to keep them safe. And if an episode arises where we have to respond, that we're well aware and prepared and equipped to deal with an emergency, and to contact 911 and to have our fine paramedics and firefighter staff that we have for LA County to respond rapidly and to continue to provide excellent care for these patients. Thank you.
So I want to echo some of the things that Dr. Privett said. Prevention is always the best tactic when preventing these types of injuries. First, you want to make sure that your child is receiving, you want to make them as safe as possible around the pool, so you want to make sure that they've received quality instruction and that they can take lessons as early as the age of 3. They also have classes for parents and infants, so children can start learning basic skills at a very early age. And you'll be surprised at how quickly your children can learn and become safer in the pool. Second, you want to make sure that you're always vigilant. There's always adult supervision, that there's locked gates around the pool, and that there's door alarms leading out to the pool area. Like Dr. Privett mentioned, it only takes a couple of minutes for the tragedy to take place. And finally, the CPR classes are really important. So if the worst does happen, you want to make sure that you're able to respond to that. Fatalities are worse between the ages of 1 and 14. This is the highest risk group, and is the second leading cause of death. Unintentional injury only preceded by motor vehicle accidents. You can take pool lessons or swim lessons at any age. The oldest person that I taught how to swim was 67 years old, and she was inspired after watching the 2004 Olympics and wanted to learn how to do the butterfly stroke. So even with arthritis and the age of 67 years old, she learned how to do the butterfly stroke for 25 yards. So it's never too late to learn.
I know one thing I want to add real quick for pool safety tips. Parents too often get a false sense of security with things such as water wings or vests, life vests they put on their kids. And sometimes that false sense of security is what allows them just momentarily to leave, to go to the kitchen or to get on a phone call or text. And too often these young kids on their own, they will take off those water wings or take off that water vest, or the water vest isn't properly fitted and it will actually turn them or have some unintended consequences. So parents, please make sure, once again, supervision is never, should be replaced for a false sense of water wings or other things to keep the kids safe. Now, one thing you heard from Dr. Privett, the second you have an incident, call 911. And we're so fortunate in Los Angeles County to have the best and brightest serving as firefighters and as paramedics. And today we're fortunate to have our Fire Chief, Bill Nickum.
Thank you, Mayor. Today's event is a follow-up to a 2-year effort for all parties here involved to reach out, touch our communities, and stress the importance of pool safety and children. We have a high incident of drownings in the greater LA area. A lot of that has to do with the weather. A lot of that has to do with the high number of pools we have. What's important for our public is to understand that drownings and children have a common thread. One, the parents or guardians that's responsible for the welfare and safety of our children all feel that they were loving, caring, attentive, and responsible parents. 2, all of which said they were either just took their eyes off their children for 1 minute, or that they felt like someone else was responsible for watching their children. Either way, these tragedies are avoidable. We're stressing to everyone, whether you're a parent or a guardian, yield to the recommendations from this panel. Never assume that somebody else is watching your child. Never be distracted from what your primary role as caregiver or responsible party is, and make every effort to educate yourself to the threat. Whether we're talking pool fencing, we can be proactive in that. We can be proactive in door alarms. Learning CPR is a critical component to the survival rate of a child that slips into a pool. We want to stress that children drown without a sound, and that is a true statement. And if you're not paying attention to this, you're putting yourself as well as your family at risk. Thank you.
I know right now you see over here our lifeguards in one of their swim classes doing something that you as parents can do, and that's going through drills. I remember as a kid my parents going through fire drills. Well, here you're seeing kids learn, some of them obviously very young, at 3-4 years old, having lifesaver buoys, how to use the lifesaver buoy, how to do first aid, once again door alarms, locking gates, and parents getting CPR certified. So those are things you as parents can do for your youth. And today, it's not unheard of. I know just recently we worked with LA County firefighters, and with the LA County medical officer, we had over 100 kids as young as 7, 8, 9, 10 years old getting certified in CPR. So even siblings can learn CPR and pool safety and drill with your family members.